So I want everyone to give a big round of applause to Simran.
Hi. My name is Simran, and I'm here today to talk about vision. Big scary word. Wasn't sure what exactly it meant, and I did the cliche thing, but I did it late last night, just before I was coming here, on Googling what the word vision is. And I think Mark said it very, very well. It's the idea of seeing or planning for the future with some sort of imagination or thoughts. And for me, just even coming out here, I just wanted to ask the room, what was your vision coming today here in the morning? What were you expecting? Any answers? You read the bio, you read the description. Did you come for the coffee, the noodles? What did everyone come for? Oh, thanks. I did not pay her to say that, I swear. um, no one? No one? Go ahead.
I think when I read your bio and it said that you knew as a kid what your vision was, and I think that was something that really made me come all the way so early in the morning, because clarity of vision is something which we all want, and you had it since childhood. So that was I think the point that I decided that I have to go watch her talk.
Oh, thank you. I like that. I'm glad I inspired you from the age of 4. Let's see if I inspire you right now. Um, yes, coming back to topic, unless anyone else has any thoughts on why they're here today morning. Okay, let me get started talking and not make you talk anymore. Who am I? My name's Simran again. My email signature says cookbook author and spark girl. I wrote a cookbook during COVID. It is called A Spark of Madness. There we go. I will pass the book around if anyone wants to look at it, or it'll be there maybe towards the end so you can actually focus on me and not the paper during the talk. What is a spark of madness? I am still figuring that out, but I definitely have a lot of that. Sorry. So coming back to what Urmila said and what the bio said as well, I've known since the age of 4 that all I've ever wanted to do is to feed people. I enjoy eating, I enjoy drinking, I enjoy breaking bread with friends. We have so many traditions and cultures from all different parts of the world that all come down to sharing food with people that you love. And that's all everyone's nodding, everyone's like, yeah, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Diwali, Eid, all the festivals, we're always celebrating around food. We're discussing what we're going to eat. We have family traditions based around that. We go out and we want to eat noodles together, eat rice together, have pizza together. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to feed people. And my entire life, all I ever thought the way to feed people was to open a restaurant. I was like, okay, I want to feed people. How do I do that? I need to open a restaurant. So everything that I've done was based around that. I'm just going to show you a clip that I was trying to summarize the joy of feeding people. Mark, we'll just see if this works. That's one of my favorite movies. Does anyone know which one it is? Yes, exactly. And it's that feeling of food that when you have that bite and it just brings you back to a place or a memory. And that's just coming back to the vision that I had about feeding. Oh, there we go. Technology. So I started off by saying I had this clear vision. I was so sure of what I wanted to do. And I'm going to tell you about my life and what happened and why am I here and what finally got it to happen. But let's start with not at the beginning where most traditional stories start. Let's start right in the middle where I didn't have vision. I suddenly thought I was always so clear with my goal. I knew what I was going to do. And all of that just got taken away from me. And it was during COVID. Let's talk about 2020. I had a lot of experiences before that to sort of get to that goal. 2020, I was like, let's finally open this restaurant. Let's do this. I have been in Hong Kong for over 25 years, but I've had projects that have taken me to all different parts of the world. I've lived in Bombay, in Singapore, in Paris. I lived for 6 weeks in Lagos in Nigeria and opened a restaurant there. But 2020, I was in Bombay and I told my parents, do not talk to me for 6 months. Rather, don't disturb me. You can't tell Indian parents not to talk to you for that long. And I was like, I'm moving to Bombay and I'm going to open a Sichuan restaurant there. I will only come back once I've finally achieved that. Cut to March 2020 and the world goes into lockdown and India had the worst lockdown ever. I say the worst because alcohol stores were shut. I have never rummaged through my dad's liquor cabinet trying to be like, ooh, is this vinegar or wine? What are we drinking? But I was stuck. I've worked my entire adult life. I've always had something to do. I've had a purpose. I've told you I had a vision. And suddenly all just got taken away from me. There was no restaurants opening. There was no job that I could apply for. I was stuck at home. I was 30 years old and I did not know what to do. I used to wake up and I used to be like, okay, maybe today I will do a gym class online. Maybe today I will do a sourdough starter or I'll do a banana bread waffle. I even went that Lulu where if anyone knows idli, it's like a steamed or a pancake. I did idli art. I was putting curry leaves and chili on idli to entertain myself. And because I had to cook, in Hong Kong or in Asia, we don't have to cook for ourselves every day. We're really spoiled in that regard and we're grateful for it. But I had to cook for myself every day. And I was like, okay, if I have to do this, why don't I just put myself through 6 months of self-imposed cooking school and just sort of try all these different recipes. So that's what I did for 6 months, put on a lot of weight in that process. And then finally, Hong Kong allowed me back in. Because if anyone knows, Hong Kong was not that bad, but they didn't allow anyone coming in. And I was stuck in a room by myself, trying to be the quarantine queen, and just sitting in pajamas the whole day trying to entertain myself. And that's when I came up with the idea that, okay, if I've spent so long cooking, why don't I just put all those things together into like a black and white, little manuscript that I can just be like, this is my COVID baby. And COVID baby it was. 9 months later, I had a little cookbook that went from March 2020 was when COVID happened, but October 2021 is when I launched my cookbook. This is what my life was like for those 9 months, where I was making food, taking photos of food. Every photo you're going to be seeing in the cookbook later is shot by an iPhone. I was making this on a budget. I didn't have an offer from a cookbook, a publishing company. Most cookbooks are written either by famous chefs or restaurateurs, or now there's a whole genre of, Instagram influencers, YouTube cooks who are writing cookbooks. Who am I to write a cookbook? I don't even follow a recipe myself. I sort of just mix and match and put things together and be creative with it. Gentle plug-in for Mark for Creative Mornings. And suddenly I'm here and I'm like, well, I need to do something with myself. So let's put this cookbook. Okay, moving on. The cookbook finally went to print, but that was not my goal. I wanted to feed people. Why am I suddenly stuck with paper? And I was, went to print, the cookbook went to the printer and I was like, okay, I've done this, but am I really getting closer towards my goal or is this taking me anywhere? Who's going to buy the cookbook? How's it going to work? I was even so unsure because most cookbook authors have someone who's just sitting there and making recipes for them. Because you could write a recipe down, but how do you know that recipe actually works? So they'll have someone who's a paid employee who'll just sit there and make the recipes. I couldn't afford to do that because, as I said, I was self-published. I put it up on social media. I basically said, look, I have 116 recipes. Why 116? Just because I like it. I have 116 recipes. Would anyone want to try these recipes for me? 130 people from 36 different cities around the world tested out a Spark of Madness recipes. And they did not get to choose the recipe. They got to choose the the category of recipes they would like to cook. And they did not get a photo of it. Because once you see a photo, you sort of understand that, okay, this is how she wants the vegetables to be cut or what the idea is. And the lesson I learned from that was sort of just, they helped me edit the book to such a great level because I was just putting down 1 tomato, 1 onion to keep it simple. And a friend of mine was like, in the States, a tomato is the size of your face, right? This recipe is not going to work with this. Or corn flour slurry. Does anyone know what that means? Go ahead, just answer. No? No one knows what that means? Yes, that's what I thought as well. But apparently in the UK, slurry is manure. I could not tell someone to put manure in the cookbook. So I had to sit there and re-edit so much of that. But it was just because I had help from everyone around who just wanted to support me on this without asking for anything back. But after all that editing, just coming back to it again, I was still like, what is the point of this? So I went to the Shungwan Cooked Food Center. Has anyone been there? Has anyone been to this French toast place and had the little yin yung bottle tea? I sat there with the final manuscript. And I was like, okay, this is going off. What's next? What next can I do with this? I was trying to see what can I do to market the cookbook. I was like, oh, let me do a little tote bag or like, an umbrella or a bottle opener, because those are the things everyone's so used to getting from it. But I was like, no, let's get back to the goal. Your goal is to feed people. Let's be a little mad. Let's try and think about what can be done. And in those 6 weeks, I decided to do a condiment brand. But it wasn't a condiment brand in terms of like, oh, this is a business idea or any of that stuff. I was like, it's just for the launch, just 6 weeks. Let's just put out a couple of jars. Let's see what you can do with it, and we'll figure. Those 6 weeks is when I would say a spark of madness really became what it was. From SF Express jars being delivered, my mom was like, what are these boxes doing in my living room? Where are they gonna go? To trying to figure out the labels, to trying to figure out, what flavors to do. Why did I even just pick 3 sauces? I have 116 recipes in the book. And which 3 are gonna make the cut? When some things just align, when the world just wants you to do something and everything just comes together and you're just not sure who or what is making that magic happen. That's what happened in those 6 weeks. That's when sometimes you might have a vision, you might have a plan, but things never go according to plan, and it's okay, because things like that happen in those moments of chaos and confusion. The biggest moments of growth happen from moments of chaos and confusion. Allow yourself to feel that. We're always trying to say that, no, we need to do this or do that and be according to a fixed path. Let yourself be mad and a little bit wild. In terms of this, yes, so I'm gonna walk you through even just selecting spices, the flavors, trying to figure out how to bottle it. Everything's new to me. I'm not trained in doing an FMCG product. I'm not trained in being a chef. But everything just came together, and I'm gonna tell you parts of my story that sort of made the products come together. So caramelized spring onion. I am born in Taiwan to Indian parents. My Indian parents moved to Taiwan to start a new life, and they had me and my sister in Taiwan. I grew up eating Taiwanese pancakes. Has anyone eaten those scallion pancakes? Yes? It's beautiful, it's flavorful, it's flaky, it's got salt, but it's like just so comforting. And I was trying to bring flavors of my childhood into this jar. This is what I grew up eating. I was living this American life in Taiwan. If anyone's been to Taiwan, there's a small little American colony. I was celebrating St. Patrick's Day and Halloween and all this fun stuff, and I'm this Indian girl in there. But that's what I wanted to bring, that when you open that jar of caramelized spring onion, you're like, oh, I get it. I get what she's trying to say. But again, it's not limited just to what's in there. The usage that you get out of the condiments is what I wanted to show you, that you can use it for pretty much anything and everything. The next one is crack sauce. You might not know me or my brand name. You might not remember this talk, but you will remember crack sauce. Come and try crack sauce over there if you can. What is crack sauce? Everyone always asks me, they're like, why did you name it that? What's in it? And after Taiwan, my parents decided to move us to India. My mom was pregnant with her 3rd kid. She wanted to, Taiwan was dying out. The joke I always say is that I'm a made in Taiwan baby. I'm a baby of the late 80s. If anyone knows, a lot of our toys used to come from Taiwan. So all of that started moving out because China was opening up and people were moving their factories to China. So my mom moved us to India. And we were 3 kids in India. And again, readjusting, coming back to the whole idea of moments of chaos and confusion and growth. At 7, I had to leave this American lifestyle, move to India, sit in this bus with no AC. Our schools didn't have an AC. People were sitting on the floor and eating their food. There was no playground, there was no front yard, backyard. But just that whole experience brought my family together. Because when you're moving to a new country, you sort of just like cling on to the people that you're closest to. My family did this to me and my siblings again when 7 years after that, we moved back to Hong Kong. And as a 14-year-old teenager, moving and leaving your friends behind is one of the hardest things you can do. I told my dad, "You've ruined my life. I hate you. I'm never going to forgive you for this." Because I had my crush behind in Bombay. I had my life. Oh, I've got 5 minutes left only. Okay, oh, sorry, I've been talking for so long. I'll go through it quickly. I had my life set up over there, and suddenly I was just pushed to this whole level of extreme. But that's when I discovered cooking. That's when I came to Hong Kong, and I experienced that food tech is actually a subject in school, and I could do something with it. And coming back to the whole vision of like, okay, wait, now I've got momentum. I thought I was going to go to school, I was going to go to hotel management and get into the restaurant stuff. Again, that didn't happen. Because coming back to my ethnicity, my parents were like, "You're a smart kid. Go get a business degree. Go do something about it. And you can always come back to food." So I'm going to like rush through it because I can keep chatting and chatting. I then worked in media for a little bit. But then finally, after doing that for 7 more years, I was like, let's go and do something about the food. Come back to the vision. So I keep going back and forth, back and forth. But coming back to Paris, I went to Cordon Bleu. I did not have my hot neighbor making me scrambled eggs as Emily in Paris. Let me just tell you, no one in Paris walks around in heels. It's not true. But what I did in Paris was I again discovered how to bring Asian flavors because I was cooking certain things that I wanted, and my fridge was stocked with lao gao ma. Has everyone had lao gao ma? Yes, oh my God, the grandma chili oil, so good, but so bad for you because there's so much MSG in there. So when it came into doing spark sauces, one of the sauces I wanted to do was a crispy chili, but like a clean version with so much goodness, but no MSG in it. I'm going to skip a little bit ahead just in the interest of time. So with the sauces right now, it's been a journey. We've been there for 3 years. Did not realize that, I was like, oh yeah, it's just for the launch, and then I'm going to come back to the business plan of opening a restaurant. Do I have a restaurant yet? Not yet. But one of the biggest things that I've learned from this is that it's not just about that end vision that you have. Have that vision, keep on to it, but it's also the journey to get to that vision that needs to be enjoyed because you don't know what beautiful moments are going to come up from it. One of the biggest things that I realized in this whole process is that if I had that restaurant in 2020, thank God I didn't open it then, by the way, but if I had that restaurant in 2020, I would be feeding people in just one area, in just one geographical neighborhood. Right now, Spark sauces are in Hong Kong. They're all over. If you see it, buy one. But they're also in Dubai and Singapore. We're exporting, we're getting the business overseas. The fact that someone in the UAE is eating something that I've made from a small little factory in Hong Kong just blows my mind away. If someone could tell, 4-year-old Sim that this is what's going to happen, she wouldn't have believed it then. And I'm still in shock about that. But just coming back to, I'm going to come back to the questions, but I'm going to skip a little bit ahead just to tell you.
Because you're only given a little spark of madness. And if you lose that, you're nothing. Don't. From me to you. Don't ever lose that because it keeps you alive. Because if you lose that, that's my only love. Crazy.
Hold on to your spark of madness. But yes, let's open the floor up to any questions.
But first, a big round of applause.
Thank you for sharing. I'm actually quite curious. It's a fantastic story. But coming back to that community of people who helped you try out the recipes, did you have it beforehand, or you had the recipe and just like released, the request for help? Or how did
I go about that?
Yeah.
So I basically put up a post on Instagram I had an Instagram account for a Spark of Madness and my personal Instagram. And I just put up a post saying, look, I was sort of sharing my journey throughout it. And I said, now I have 116 recipes to test out. Would anyone want to try them out for me? You can choose a section. So you can choose if you want a recipe from Malacca Strait or from Mekong Delta or from India or from Greater China or baked goodies or brunch picnics. I will send you 3 choices. You let me know which one you like. And then I'm going to send you the recipe, and that's it. And there's a Google form for you to fill out, and if you can do it by this deadline. And people started doing it and started posting it on their social media. So then their friends started messaging me like, we would like to help you and we want to test out a recipe. And it was just beautiful to see the way that it grew. And everyone followed the deadline, and because there was momentum in someone else posting, I never asked for it to be posted on social media because you never want to do that. But people were doing it just out of their own sort of like goodwill. And then when you see your friend post, you're like, I'm going to post as well about it. So that's what happened with that. Yeah. No, not at all. Thanks for the question.
Beautifully co-created.
Yes, exactly.
Really cool.
Thanks. 2 questions. 1, how did you fund your book? And 2, did you have a marketing plan for the book? Like where you were going to sell it, who you were going to sell it to? Or was it all just like, I'll figure it out?
So throughout my life, if you even look at my laptop right now, I've got business plans for 5 restaurants. I have Spotify playlists for 5 restaurants. When I hear a song, I'm like, ooh, in this restaurant, I'm going to put that down. I have no business plan for Spark. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm here doing noodles at 8 in the morning. I'm not a morning person. There is no business plan for this. Every time I'm thinking, okay, end of the year, I should put a plan down. I don't have a plan. I struggle with it, but I know that I want to take it global. How I do that, I don't know yet. I will figure it out. And coming back to, in terms of marketing, social media has helped me the most. And every time I'm like, okay, for now this year, it's been a lot of collaborations that we're doing. We just did a collaboration with Shake Shack, where they were launching the new veggie burger, and they had a French, crinkle cut fries jamming station. But how did that come into, everyone looks at me and they're like, it's like a David and Goliath. I'm such a small brand, and then there's Shake Shack. It's just because one of the marketing managers came for an event, he liked the product, and it happened. It wasn't part of my plan to approach Shake Shack. So there is no plan right now. There should be, but there isn't. In terms of funding for the book, it was self-funded. So that's why I was so conscious of the budget. I literally had, and I was not making money since Jan 2020. And I didn't want to touch my restaurant capital that I had saved aside. So I was literally on a shoestring budget, which is why even the photos in the book are taken by an iPhone. It was not shot in a studio. It was a friend helping me edit. This friend of mine still makes fun of me because there's a recipe in there for a pesto babka. For some reason, I burned this babka 7 times while trying to take the photo. And I was like, can you edit the burn marks out? And he's like, you burned it. There's nothing I can do to make it look not burned. But yes, it was self-funded. And it's, a cookbook doesn't make you money. So if you have plans to write a cookbook, do it. It's sort of like a CV. It gives you a little momentum, but it doesn't make you money. The sauces make you money.
Go for the sauces.
Always.
Go for sauce. We got time for one more.
So would you say opening a restaurant is still the, what's that word, culmination of your dream? And if you were to open a restaurant in Hong Kong, what would it be?
Ooh, love that, Alvin. So the restaurant will happen. I have no doubts about that. But I'm not in a rush for it to happen anymore. I was doing Moon Trekker last Friday, and when you do 30 kilometers in the dark, you have all these thoughts. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, Sim, do you want to do the restaurant next year? But it was also this other thought. It's like you've built something so beautiful in the last 3 years for Spark, and it's not, you can still do more. And it was like, everything will happen. Just keep going at it. So I think when I was younger, I mean 5, 6 years ago, I was like, I need to do it by this age, because then if I want to start a family, how is it going to all happen? Now I'm like, it's fine. Even if I open the restaurant at 50, food's not going anywhere, people are not going anywhere. There will always be a reason to feed people. In terms of what I would want to open in Hong Kong, so when I was in Paris, you had to have a business plan from Cordon Bleu before you graduated. And my business plan was to open a Singaporean Malaysian restaurant in Hong Kong. Because again, it was just sort of like bringing my background where I was like in Singapore. I feel like it's that potpourri mix of like Indian, Chinese, Malay, all coming together. And I felt like that was sort of like a representation of who I am. But yeah, that was the idea for Hong Kong. But I also have 4 other business plans, as I said. So which one I do first, I don't know.
Eventually we'll see them all, right?
Sorry?
Eventually we'll see them all. come to
Exactly,
life.
hopefully. It should happen.
Should we do one more? If there's one more? Yes, right here.
Hi. So the thing is, you mentioned a lot of things that are not planned, right? What keeps you going on a day-to-day basis? Like, you know you want to do this eventually, sometime, someday, and things are happening during that journey. But what keeps you going on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, that's a tough one. It can be very cyclical in Hong Kong. So the first year was COVID. I launched the brand when there was no sort of like precedence of what to do. My first full business year, I would say, was 2022, when it was like, okay, this is how it goes. And there's certain days where, like, you know, I love to work. I love that anchor point. But there are certain days where I was on a beach on a Tuesday and there was just no work to do. There's, you know, sauces were made, there's no marketing, there's nothing left to do. But when you have those days, those are the days where also your mind just goes free and you're like, okay, can I do a new product? What can I do for Christmas? What am I thinking in terms of events? We do a lot of different events apart from the sauces. There's food tours that we have that's happening in Sham Shui Po right now. There is a sampan dinner that we organize. There's collaborative dinners that we do. And that sort of freedom of space gives time for that. But the rest of the time, I'm either busy covered in sauces and chili or having talks with you over here.
Or doing noodle jams.
Or do noodle jams.
Tell us a bit about the noodle jams.
Oh, yes, sorry. So the noodle jam essentially was one of the ideas that, again, just came from when the sauces launched. It was like, how do I promote the sauces? Because you weren't allowed tasters during COVID, I was like, how do I get people to try it, but in a COVID-friendly manner? And that's when I was like, wait, everyone in Hong Kong's done art jamming, right? Just show of hands. How many canvases do we have sitting in an attic somewhere with our ugly artwork? And I was like, why don't we noodle jam, where I have the noodles as your canvas and the spark sauces as your paints? One of the other things, the way the sauces, without even, again, planning for it, was that they are beautiful on their own. They taste great for Asian or Western dishes, but they also work so well when combined together. You've got the crack sauce with the creaminess of the dandan. You've got the chili from the crispy chili oil. You've got the little sweetness and vinegar from the caramelized spring onion. And then some people are like, wait, but I don't like spice. I don't do this. I don't do nuts. I'm gluten-free. There's still something for everyone to do with the noodle jam because you're making it on your own. I've done my job. Now you have to work for your food. So yeah, you can mix and match any of the sauces on top of the noodles. And coming back to it, during COVID, it was like, this is your box. You're not sharing it with anyone else. So it worked out really well. And this is something it's become our signature. A friend of mine the other day was like, I read noodle jam and I knew it was you. And I was like, that's what I want to happen. But yeah, if anyone wants to come try some sauces or come chit chat a little bit more, I'll be right in that corner over there.
Well, actually, people can join the noodle jam, right?
Yes, for today, we've got noodle boxes still left. It's $50 for a box of noodles. So if you want to come stock up before you have to head to work, please come on over.
Perfect. One more big round of applause.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you to stick around for a second
Sure.
because I'm going to invite Nick over. Nick is our paper cutting artist.
Oh
He
my
is one of our
God.
very loyal community members, and he made this beautiful, unique piece of
That
art.
is beautiful.
Big round of applause for
oh
Nick's
my God,
work.
I'm so touched.
So we went to the same school. We went to West Island School.
Oh,
I
no
didn't
ways.
take food tech. I took design tech. So
Oh,
that's where I am.
We were in the same 7th floor lounge. I remember that.
Yeah. So the graphic is obviously from your book. The logo is from there, and then you have this graphic at the back. But I combined all of the little elements from all your different sources, all your different products, and combined them into one.
This
So you have
is
your
the
little panda, you have
sweetest
the
thing.
pineapple, and the lucky cat.
Oh my God, I'm so touched. I'm really so. You even got a paisley in. That is my favorite shape. I have a tattoo to show how much I love that shape. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so touched. Seriously. And yay to West Island.
Yeah.
There are a few West Island people out here as well.
Okay,
Thank you.
we're going to take
Thank
a
you
picture
so
while
much.
they receive one more round of applause.